Chapter 42. Joe. He cheated, shouts Dylan. That's why I couldn't guess it. What do leeches have to do with quitting? Would you like to come up to the front of the class and tell us how the two things are connected, Ravi? Personally, I would have been sweating bullets if Mrs. Beam made me stand up in front of everybody like that. But Ravi doesn't seem nervous at all. In fact, he looks happy. He pushes up his glasses and clears his throat like he's about to give a speech or something. I'm listening, but I'm also keeping my eye on Dylan in case he tries to mess with Ravi's leeches while he's busy giving his speech. Quitting is not an option, Ravi says. This is what my father taught me and what his father taught him and what I will teach my own son someday soon. Big deal, says Dylan. What does that have to do with leeches anyway? I told you he cheated. Shh, says Mrs. Beam. Go on, Ravi. Ravi pushes up his glasses again. I haven't prepared anything else to say, but I could tell you a story if you like. Chapter 43. I rub my nose and push up my glasses. My hands are shaking a little, so I fold them together the way we were taught to do in elocution class at Vidya Mandir. For many generations, the Suryana Narayanan family has worked with tea, I begin. When my grandfather was a young man, he worked in the tea plantations. His job was to protect the tea pluckers from wild animals that might be lurking nearby. I look around the room. Everyone is listening. Some are even leaning forward in their seats. I decide to bring a bit more drama into the story by adding a few details Paripa had not included in his version. Have you ever been attacked by a porcupine or a wild boar? I ask, pawing the ground with my foot. Have you ever seen a panther crouching in the grass, ready to pounce, or been struck in the middle of a war between two angry elephants? I pause and look around the room for dramatic effect. All those years of elocution lessons are really paying off. Imagine it is the monsoon season, I say. Imagine the ground is still damp from the heavy rain. A perfect hiding place for the most dangerous creature of all, more dangerous than the porcupine or even the panther. This animal can latch onto you and bite through even the toughest flesh with its 300 razor-sharp teeth. What the heck, says Jax. Be quiet, Caleb Burrell tells him. I want to hear about the teeth. This is no time to lose momentum, so I take a deep breath and dive back into the story. Well, my grandfather battled these tiny Draculas in disguise every single day. Imagine yourself plucking tea under a hot sun, when suddenly you realize you are surrounded by vicious black worms waiting to fix themselves to your body and drain your lifeblood out. Look, there's one between your toes. Be careful, there's one behind your ear. Believe me when I tell you, these dreaded blood-sucking leeches can even crawl up your nostril. Just as my tale is building to its climax, I am interrupted by a loud, choking sound. A moment later, the air is filled with a horrible smell. Check it out, shouts Dylan Samreen. Emily Mooney just blew chunks. Chapter 44. Joe. Apparently all that stuff about giant blood-sucking leeches climbing up your nose got to Emily, and she barfed up her breakfast. Kids are running around screaming. Dylan is laughing. Emily is bawling. And Mrs. Beam is calling the office to tell them to send the custodian down to room 506 quick with a mop. I feel bad for Ravi. He was having such a good time up there telling his story, and now all anybody can think about is Emily's barf. Miss Frost was right. It must be really hard coming all the way from India to New Jersey, especially when you have to deal with somebody calling you names and stealing your mechanical pencils, not to mention hitting you on purpose with a softball. I look at that beautiful blue double peanut M&M sitting in the bowl in front of me and whoop zoop sloop. All of a sudden, I get this great idea. Chapter 45. Ravi. The smell of the vomit is overpowering. Girls are screaming, Emily Mooney is crying, and Dylan Samreen is laughing his head off. Mrs. Beam tells me to return to my seat. Then she asks us to take out our copies of Bud Not Buddy. We'll go to the library and read until the custodian has had a chance to clean up. When we return, we can continue with our game. Poor Curryhead, says Dylan as I take my seat. His speech was so bad the audience puked. I ignore him and pull out my copy of Bud Not Buddy. That's when I notice a folded-up scrap of paper lying on the desk between the jar of leeches. I unfold it and read, "Beware. Do not touch the jar. Trust me, Joe." It has been a day full of surprises, and it seems there will be one more. Chapter 46, Joe. As we line up and start down the hall toward the library, my stomach is in a knot. Can I really pull this off? Dylan Samreen is up ahead, sticking his tongue out at Lucy Mulligan while she ignores him. Ravi hasn't said anything to me, but I know he read the note. I saw him. I hope I'm right about Dylan, but the closer we get to the library, the more I wonder if I was crazy to think my plan could work. And then it happens. The first domino falls. "Oops, I forgot my book," Dylan tells Mrs. Beam. "I'll be right back." Here goes, I think. This is it. As I turn and watch Dylan walk down the hall, I think about all the mean things he's done, not just to me, but to Ravi. Zebras have to stick together. I want Ravi to feel the way I felt when I saw that double M&M sitting in the bowl. As I watch Dylan Samreen duck into room 506, all I can do is hope that after all these years I know him as well as I think I do. I cross my fingers and begin the final countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No! The door bangs open, and Dylan comes flying out of room 506 like a bat out of you-know-where. There's a terrified look on his face, and a big wet stain spreading across the front of his pants. I can't believe it. It actually worked. When I saw Dylan eyeballing those leeches earlier, I knew it was only a matter of time before he'd try to swipe them. And like everything else he's taken, I also knew where they would end up. Dylan is jumping up and down now, swatting the front of his pants, until finally the glass jar falls out of the bottom of one of his pant legs and rolls across the floor. Talk about an epic sequence. Chapter 47, Ravi. What kind of fool puts leeches in his pants? Loosening the jar had been a capital idea, nothing less than pure genius. Dylan is running around like a headless chicken. Then the bully of Albert Einstein Elementary School drops his pants and runs down screaming the hallway, and runs screaming down the hallway in his starry underwear. Brilliant. I say a secret prayer of thanks to my grandfather, and to the poor innocent leeches who sacrificed their lives for this important occasion. Later, after Dylan Samreen has called his mother to come pick him up, and the cleaner has finished wiping up Emily Mooney's vomit, we return to the classroom. "Would you like to finish telling us your story, Ravi?" Mrs. Beam asks. "No, thank you," I say. "I don't need to show off any more. I'm not like Dylan Samreen, and I never will be." "I believe it's your turn to guess, Ravi," Mrs. Beam says, holding the basket out to me. I close my eyes, make a wish, and pull out the card. "There is more to me than meets the eye," I read. "Ah," said Mrs. Beam. "Now that's a tough one, especially for you, Ravi, because you're new here. Would you like to choose another card instead, something that might be a bit easier to guess?" I shake my head. This is the card I wanted to get, the one I had wished for. I carry it over and set it down beside the glass dish with the blue candy in it. "It's Joe," I say. Joe nods, then lifts his head and looks up at me. I smile, and he smiles back. His eyes are brown, the color of cinnamon sticks Amma brought with her from Bangalore. "How in the world did you ever guess?" asked Mrs. Beam, impressed. "It was easy," I tell her. "These candies have 4 layers. Most people assume there are only 3, but assumptions are often wrong. There is more to them than meets the eye." "Did you learn that in India?" asked Mrs. Beam. "No," I tell her. "I learned it here, from Joe."